Mm. Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Here in this glorious Balaram Jayanti, the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Balaram. So difficult to understand, and yet so essential for all of us. Maintaining the spiritual world, maintaining the material, maintaining the material world. Every single thing that we own, that we have, that we think, that we do, is all inspired by the creation of Lord Balaram and his expansion of Mahavishnu. And yet he is also the friendly older brother of Krishna in Vrindavan, the first pastime expansion of Krishna, who is thinking that he's a servant of Krishna and therefore the original spiritual master and intimate servant of Krishna. He appears wherever Krishna expands himself, especially in his full incarnations. Lord Ramachandra, he appears as Lakshman to assist him in his intimate pastimes in the forest with Sita and the pastimes of killing the demon Ravana. He appears in Caitanya-lila as Nityananda, the intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya, the Avaduta, reflecting Lord Balaram's funny and spontaneous personality that has everyone endeared to him. Anyway, this is a glorious day. We're going to finish or continue our reading of Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's favorite book, Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada's favorite book, the perfect Shastra, glorified by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the following way. In due course, Mahapralaya, devastating floods, will inundate the entire universe. If you attempt to survive by swimming in that deluge, then do not neglect to take hold of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. If you cannot hold all three, then release Bhagavad Gita. If necessary, you may also relinquish Srimad Bhagavatam, but under no circumstances release your hold on Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. For if this one book remains, then the flood can do no actual damage, because after it is subsided, the message of Shastra can be revived from Sri Caitanya-caritämrta alone, it being the essence of all Shastra. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda, Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda, Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. So we've reached the 4th chapter of Madhya-lila, in which Lord Chaitanya is now traveling from Navadvip down to Jagannath Puri. And on the way he stops in various places. And guess who's with him? Sri Nityananda Ram, the expansion of Sri Balaram, the non-different than Sri Balaram. So we'll hear about his pastimes in that form. Text 1. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Madhya-lila Puri, who was given a pot of sweet rice stolen by Sri Gopinath, celebrated thereafter as Chira Chora. Being pleased by Madhavendra Puri's love, Sri Gopal, the deity at Govardhan, appeared to the public vision. Purport. Bhaktivinoda Thakur annotates that this Gopal deity was originally installed by Vajra, the great-grandson of Krishna. Madhavendra Puri rediscovered Gopal and established him on top of Govardhan Hill. This Gopal deity is now situated at Natadwar, and is under the management of descendants of Vallabhacharya. The worship of the deity is very luxurious, and one who goes there can purchase varieties of prasadam by paying a small price. Text 2. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Advaita Prabhu. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Text 3 and 4. The Lord went to Jagannath Puri and visited Lord Jagannath's temple. He also met with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. All these pastimes have been very elaborately explained by Vrindavan Das Thakur in his book Chaitanya Bhagavat. Text 5. By nature, all the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet, and when they are described by Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. Text 6. Therefore, I very humbly submit that since these incidents have already been nicely described by Vrindavan Das Thakur, I would be very proud to repeat the same thing, and this would not be very good. I do not have such powers. Text 7. I am therefore presenting only a synopsis of those events already described elaborately by Vrindavan Das Thakur in his Chaitanya Mangal, now known as Chaitanya Bhagavat. Some of the incidents he did not describe elaborately, but only summarized, and these I shall try to describe in this book. Text 9. I thus offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vrindavan Das Thakur. I hope that I will not offend his lotus feet by this action. Text 10. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded toward Jagannath Puri with 4 of his devotees, and he chanted the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna mantra, with great eagerness. Text 11. Each day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally went to a village and collected a great quantity of rice and other grains for the preparation of prasadam. 12. There were many rivers on the way, and at each river there was a tax collector. The tax collectors did not hinder the Lord, however, and he showed them mercy. Finally, he reached the village of Remuna. Purport. There is a railway station named Baleshwar, and 5 miles to the west is the village of Remuna. The temple of Chirachora Gopinath still exists in this village, and within the temple, the Samadhi tomb of Rasikananda Prabhu, the chief disciple of Shyamananda Goswami, can still be found. 13. The deity of Gopinath in the temple at Remuna was very attractive. Lord Chaitanya visited the temple and offered his obeisances with great devotion. Text 14. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his obeisances at the lotus feet of the Gopinath deity, the helmet of flowers on the head of Gopinath fell down and landed on the head of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 15. When the deity's helmet fell upon his head, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very pleased, and thus he chanted and danced in various ways with his devotees. Text 16. All these servants of the deity were struck with wonder due to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's intense love, his exquisite beauty, and his transcendental qualities. 17. Because of their love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they served him in many ways, and that night the Lord stayed at the temple of Gopinath. Text 18. The Lord remained there because he was very eager to receive the remnants of sweet rice offered to the Gopinath deity, having heard a narration from his spiritual master, Ishwara Puri, of what once happened there. Of what had once happened there. Text 19. That deity was known widely as Chira Chora Gopinath, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told his devotees the story of how the deity became so famous. 20. Formerly the deity had stolen a pot of sweet rice for Madhavendra Puri. Therefore he became very famous as the Lord who stole the sweet rice. Text 21. Once, Sri Madhavendra Puri traveled to Vrindavan, where he came upon the hill known as Govardhan. Text 22. Madhavendra Puri was almost mad in his ecstasy of love of Godhead, and he did not know whether it was day or night. Sometimes he stood up, and sometimes he fell to the ground. He could not discriminate whether he was in a proper place or not. Text 23. After circumambulating the hill, Madhavendra Puri went to Govinda Kund and took his bath. He then sat beneath a tree to take his evening rest. 24. While he was sitting beneath a tree, an unknown cowherd boy came with a pot of milk, placed it before Madhavendra Puri, and smiling, addressed him as follows. O Madhavendra Puri, please drink the milk I have brought. Why don't you beg some food to eat? What kind of meditation are you undergoing? 26. When he saw the beauty of that boy, Madhavendra Puri became very satisfied. Hearing his sweet words, he forgot all hunger and thirst. Text 27. Madhavendra Puri said, Who are you? Where do you reside? And how did you know that I was fasting? Text 28. The boy replied, Sir, I am a cowherd boy, and I reside in this village. In my village, no one fasts. 29. In this village, a person can beg food from others and thus eat. Some people drink only milk. But if a person does not ask anyone for food, I supply him all his vegetables. All his eatables, In this village, a person can beg food from others and thus eat. Some people drink only milk. But if a person does not ask anyone for food, I supply him all his eatables. Text 30. The women who come here to take water saw you, and they supplied me with this milk and sent me to you. Text 31. The boy continued, I must go very soon to milk the cows, but I shall return and take back this milk pot from you. Text 32. Saying this, the boy left the place. Indeed, he suddenly could be seen no more, and Madhavendra Puri's heart was filled with wonder. Text 33. After drinking the milk, Madhavendra Puri washed the pot and put it aside. He looked toward the path, but the boy never returned. 34. Madhavendra Puri could not sleep. He sat and chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and at the end of the night, he dozed a little, and his external activities stopped. 35. In a dream, Madhavendra Puri saw the very same boy. The boy came before him, and holding his hand, took him to a bush in the jungle. 36. The boy showed Madhavendra Puri the bush, and said, I reside in this bush, and because of this, I suffer very much from severe cold, rain showers, winds, and scorching heat. 37. Please bring the people of the village and get them to take me out of this bush. Then have them situate me nicely on top of the hill. 38. Please construct a temple on top of that hill, the boy continued, and install me in that temple. After this, wash me with large quantities of cold water so that my body may be cleansed. 39. For many days I have been observing you, and I have been wondering, when will Madhavendra Puri come here to serve me? I have accepted your service due to your ecstatic love for me. Thus I shall appear, and by my audience all fallen souls will be delivered. My name is Gopal. I am the lifter of Govardhan Hill. I was installed by Bhadra, and here I am the authority. When the Muslims attacked, the priest who was serving me hid me in this bush in the jungle. Then he ran away out of fear of the attack. Since the priest went away, I have been staying in this bush. It is very good that you have come here. Now just remove me with care. After saying this, the boy disappeared. Then Madhavendra Puri woke up and began to consider his dream. Madhavendra Puri began to lament. I saw Lord Krishna directly, but I could not recognize him. Thus he fell down on the ground in ecstatic love. Madhavendra Puri cried for some time, but then he fixed his mind on executing the order of Gopal. Thus he became tranquil. After taking his morning bath, Madhavendra Puri entered the village and assembled all the people. Then he spoke as follows. The proprietor of this village, Govardhana Dari, is lying in the bushes. Let us go there and rescue him from that place. 49. The bushes are very dense, and we will not be able to enter the jungle. Therefore take choppers and spades to clear the way. Text 50. After hearing this, all the people accompanied Madhavendra Puri with great pleasure. According to his directions, they cut down bushes, cleared a path, and entered the jungle. Text 51. When they saw the deity covered with dirt and grass, they were all struck with wonder and pleasure. 52. After they had cleansed the body of the deity, some of them said, the deity is very heavy. No single person can move him. 53. Since the deity was very heavy, some of the stronger men assembled to carry him to the top of the hill. Madhavendra Puri also went there. 54. A big stone was made into a throne, and the deity was installed upon it. Another big stone was placed behind the deity for support. All the Brahmana priests of the village gathered together with new water pots, and water from Govindakund lake was brought there and filtered. 56. When the deity was being installed, water was brought from Govindakund in hundreds of new pots. There were musical sounds of bugles and drums and the singing of women. 57. During the festival at the installation ceremony, some people sang and some danced. All the milk, yogurt, and clarified butter in the village were brought to the festival. Various foods and sweetmeats, as well as other kinds of presentations, were brought there. I am unable to describe all these. The villagers brought a large quantity of tulsi leaves, flowers, and various kinds of garments. Then Sri Madhya-lila Puri personally began the Abhishek, bathing ceremony. Purport. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas 6.30, it is stated that the deity should be bathed in water mixed with yogurt and milk, accompanied by the sounds of conch shells, bells, and other instruments, and the chanting of the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha, as well as the chanting of the Brahma Samhita verses beginning Chintamani Prakarasatmashu Kalpabriksha Lakshavriteshu Sudabir Abhipalayantam. Text 60. After all inauspicious things were driven away by the chanting of the mantra, the deity's bathing ceremony started. First, the deity was massaged with a large quantity of oil, so that his body became very glossy. 61. After the first bathing, further bathings were conducted with Panchagavya and then with Panchamrita. Then the Mahasnan was performed with ghee and water, which had been brought in 100 pots. Purport. The ingredients of the Panchagavya are milk, yogurt, ghee, clarified butter, cow urine, and cow dung. All these items come from the cow. Therefore, we can just imagine how important the cow is, since its urine and stool are required for bathing the deity. The Panchamrita consists of 5 kinds of nectar: yogurt, milk, ghee, honey, and sugar. The major portion of this preparation also comes from the cow. To make it more palatable, sugar and honey are added. Text 62. After the Mahasnan was finished, the deity was again massaged with scented oil and his body made glossy. Then the last bathing ceremony was performed with scented water kept within a conch shell. Purport. In his commentary on this occasion, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes from the Hari Bhakti Vilas: barley powder, wheat powder, vermilion powder, and urad dal powder, and another powder preparation called abhata, made by mixing banana powder and ground rice, are applied to the deity's body with a brush made from the hair at the end of a cow's tail. This produces a nice finish. The oil smeared over the body of the deity should be scented. To perform the Mahasnana, at least 2.5 manas, about 24 gallons of water, are needed to pour over the body of the deity. 63. After the body of the deity was cleansed, he was dressed very nicely with new garments. Then sandalwood pulp, tulsi garlands, and other fragrant flower garlands were placed upon the body of the deity. After the bathing deity was finished, incense and lamps were burned, and all kinds of food offered before the deity. These foods included yogurt, milk, and as many sweet meats as were received. Text 65. The deity was first offered many varieties of food, then scented drinking water in new pots, and then water for washing the mouth. Finally, pan, mixed with a variety of spices, was offered. After the last offering of tambula and pan, Bhoga Aratrik was performed. Finally, everyone offered various prayers and then obeisances, falling flat before the deity in full surrender. 67. As soon as the people of the village had understood that the deity was going to be installed, they had brought their entire stocks of rice, dal, and wheat flour. They brought such large quantities that the entire surface of the top of the hill was filled. Text 68. When the villagers brought their stock of rice, dal, and flour, the potters of the village brought all kinds of cooking pots, and in the morning the cooking began. 69. 10 brahmanas cooked the food grains, and 5 brahmanas cooked both dry and liquid vegetables. Text 70. The vegetable preparations were made from various kinds of spinach, roots, and fruits collected from the forest, and someone made bada and buddy by smashing dal. In this way the brahmanas prepared all kinds of food. 71. 5 to 7 men prepared a large quantity of chapatis, which were completely covered with ghee, clarified butter, as were all the vegetables, rice, and dal. All the cooked rice was stacked on palasha leaves, which were on new cloths spread over the ground. Around the stack of cooked rice were stacks of chapatis, and all the vegetables and liquid vegetable preparations were placed in different pots and put around them. Text 74. Pots of yogurt, milk, buttermilk, and shikarini, sweet rice, cream, and solid cream were placed alongside the vegetables. Purport. In this kind of ceremony, which is called anakuta, cooked rice is stacked like a small mountain for prasadam distribution. In this way, the anakuta ceremony was performed, and Madhya-lila Puri, Goswami, personally offered everything to Gopal. Many water pots were filled with scented water for drinking, and Lord Sri Gopal, who had been hungry for many days, ate everything offered to him. Although Sri Gopal ate everything offered, still, by the touch of his transcendental hand, everything remained as before. Purport. Purport. The atheists cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing in the form of the deity, can eat all the food offered by his devotees. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:26, Krishna says, Patram pushpam padam toyam yomi bhaktya priyachati tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. The Lord is Purna, complete, and therefore he eats everything offered by his devotees. However, by the touch of his transcendental hand, all the food remains exactly as before. It is the quality that is changed. Before the food was offered, it was something else. But after it is offered, the food acquires a transcendental quality. Because the food is purna, he remains the same, even after eating. Purnasya purnam adaya, purnam eva vishishyate. The food offered to Krishna is qualitatively as good as Krishna. Just as Krishna is avyaya, indestructible, the food eaten by Krishna, being identical with him, remains as before. Apart from this, Krishna can eat the food with any one of his transcendental senses. He can eat by seeing the food or by touching it. Nor should one think that it is necessary for Krishna to eat. He does not become hungry like an ordinary human being. Nonetheless, he presents himself as being hungry, and as such, he can eat everything and anything, regardless of quantity. The philosophy underlying Krishna's eating is understandable by our transcendental senses. When our senses are purified by constantly being engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, we can understand Krishna's activities, names, forms, qualities, pastimes, and entourage. Atak Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grayam Indriyahi Sevan Mukhe Hijivado Swayameva Spuratyadaha. No one can understand Krishna by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-2, 234. The devotees understand Krishna through revelation. It is not possible for a mundane scholar to understand Krishna and his pastimes through research work on the non-devotional platform. I'll repeat that. It is not possible for a mundane scholar to understand Krishna and his pastimes through research work on the non-devotional platform. Text 78. How Gopal ate everything while the food remained the same was transcendentally perceived by Madhya-lila Puri Goswami. Nothing remains a secret to the devotees of the Lord. Text 79. The wonderful festival and installation of Sri Gopalji was arranged in one day. Certainly all this was accomplished by the potency of Gopal. No one but a devotee can understand this. Purport. The Krishna consciousness movement has spread all over the world within a very short time, within 5 years, and mundane people are very much astonished at this. However, by the grace of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we understand that everything is possible by the grace of Krishna. Why does Krishna have to take 5 years? In 5 days, he can spread his name and fame all over the world like wildfire. Those who have faith in and devotion to Krishna can understand that it happened so wonderfully by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We are simply the instruments. In the fierce battle of Kurukshetra, Arjuna was victorious within 18 days simply because Krishna's grace was on his side. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dinur Dadaha, Tatra Shir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. If the preachers in our Krishna consciousness movement are sincere devotees of Krishna, Krishna will always be with them because he is very kind and favorable to all his devotees. Just as Arjuna and Krishna were victorious in the battle of Kurukshetra, this Krishna consciousness movement will surely emerge victorious if we but remain sincere devotees of the Lord and serve the Lord according to the advice of the predecessors, the 6 Goswamis, and other devotees of the Lord. As Narottam Das Thakur has stated, Tandira Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janami Janami Hoy E Abhilash. The Krishna consciousness movement must always desire to remain the Krishna consciousness devotees must always desire to remain in the society of devotees. Bhakta Sanivas. They cannot go outside the Krishna consciousness society or movement. Within the society, we must try to serve the predecessors by preaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult and spreading his name and fame all over the world. If we attempt this seriously within the society, it will be successfully done. There is no question of estimating how this will happen in the mundane sense. But without a doubt, it happens by the grace of Krishna. Here in our little haven, a little apartment here in Hythe, our stalwart brahmachari, Abhaya Das brahmachari, goes out every day with his mridanga and some books and a little place to sit, and he goes out in park or on the boardwalk and just sits and chants Hare Krishna, passes out cookies, and talks to the people. In this way, anyone, in any place, at any time, can carry out the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and become blissful by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the Krishna consciousness movement. And here, the Krishna consciousness movement is being demonstrated by Sri Madhavendra Puri in the most gorgeous and profound way, because all the people in the villages around Govardhan were pure devotees of Krishna, and therefore they all wanted to participate, and therefore they all brought all their foodstuffs, and everyone cooked, everyone cooperated, and therefore the wonderful installation of Gopal took place by the grace of Madhavendra Puri. How wonderful. Text 80. Madhavendra Puri offered water to Gopal from washing his mouth, and he gave him betel nuts to chew. Then, while arati was performed, all the people chanted Jai, Jai, all glories to Gopal. Arranging for the Lord's rest, Sri Madhavendra Puri brought a new cot, and over this he spread a new bedspread, and thus made the bed ready. Text 82. A temporary temple was constructed by covering the bed all around with a straw mattress. Thus there was a bed and a straw mattress to cover it. Text 83. After the Lord was laid down to rest on the bed, Madhavendra Puri gathered all the brahmanas who had prepared the prasadam and said to them, "Now feed everyone sumptuously, from the children on up to the aged." Text 84. All the people gathered there sat down to honor the prasadam, and by and by they took food. All the brahmanas and their wives were fed first. Purport. According to the Varnashram system, the brahmanas are always honored first. Thus, at the festival, the brahmanas and their wives were first offered the remnants of food, and then the others, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. This has always been the system, and it is still prevalent in India, even though the caste brahmanas are not qualified. The system is still current due to the Varnashram institutional rules and regulations. Text 85. Those who took prasadam included not only the people of Govardhan village, but also those who came from other villages to see the deity of Gopal. They too were offered prasadam to eat. Text 86. Seeing the influence of Madhya-lila Puri, all the people gathered there were struck with wonder. They saw that the Anakuta ceremony, which had been performed before during the time of Krishna, was now taking place again by the mercy of Sri Madhya-lila Puri. Purport. Formerly, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, all the cowherd men of Vrindavan had arranged to worship King Indra, but they gave this worship up, following the advice of Krishna. Instead, they performed a ceremony whereby they worshipped the cows, brahmanas, and Govardhan Hill. At that time, Krishna expanded himself and declared, "I am Govardhan Hill." In this way he accepted all the paraphernalia and food offered to Govardhan Hill. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:24, 26, 31, and 31 to 33. Pachantam bibidak paka supanta payasadeyaha samyava pupashushkulya shashkulya sarvadohash chagriyatam kalat mana bhagavata shakradarbam jikankshata proktam nishamyanandayak sadvagrinant tatvachaha tatat cha vyadaju sarvam yataha madhusudanaha vachayitva swatit yainam tadravyena giribridhan uparitya bilin sarvan adrita yavasam gavam godanani puraskritya girim chakru pratikshinam. Prepare very nice foods of all descriptions from the grains and ghee collected from the yajna. Prepare rice, dal, then halava, prakora, puri, and all kinds of milk preparations like sweet rice, sweet balls, sandesh, rasgulla, and laddu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, therefore advised the cowherd men to stop the Indra Yajna and begin the Govardhan Puja to chastise Indra, who was very much puffed up at being the supreme controller of the heavenly planets. The honest and simple cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, accepted Krishna's proposal and executed in detail everything he advised. They performed Govardhan worship and circumambulation of the hill. According to the instruction of Lord Krishna, Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men called in learned brahmanas and began to worship Govardhan Hill by chanting Vedic hymns and offering prasadam. The inhabitants of Vrindavan assembled together, decorated their cows, and gave them grass. Keeping the cows in front, they began to circumambulate Govardhan Hill. Text 87. All the brahmanas present on that occasion were initiated by Madhya-lila Puri into the Vaishnava cult. And Madhya-lila Puri engaged them in different types of service. Purport. In the scriptures it is stated, Shat karma nipuna vipro, Shat karma vipuno vipro, mantra tantra vishardadaha. A qualified brahmana must be expert in the occupational duties of a brahmana. His duties are mentioned as 6 brahminical engagements. Patana, meaning that a brahmana must be conversant with the Vedic scriptures. He must also be able to teach others to study the Vedas. This is patana. He must also be expert in worshipping different deities and in performing the Vedic rituals, yajna. On account of this yajna, the Brahmana, being the head of society, performs all the Vedic rituals for Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. This is called yajna, assisting others in performing ceremonies. The remaining two items are dana and pratigraha. The Brahmana accepts all kinds of contributions, pratigraha, from his followers, namely the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. But he does not keep all the money. He keeps only as much as required and gives the balance to others, in charity, dana. In order for such a qualified Brahmana to worship the deity, he must be a Vaishnava. Thus, the Vaishnava's position is superior to that of the Brahmana. This example given by Madhavendra Puri confirms that even though a Brahmana may be very expert, he cannot become a priest or servitor of the Vishnu Murti unless he is initiated in Vaishnava mantra. After installing the deity of Gopal, Madhavendra Puri initiated all the Brahmanas into Vaishnavism. He then allotted the Brahmanas different types of service to the deity. From 4 in the morning until 10 at night, from Mangalarati to Shayana Aratri, there must be at least 5 or 6 Brahmanas to take care of the deity. 6 Aratrikas are performed in the temple, and food is frequently offered to the deity, and the prasadam distributed. This is the method of worshipping the deity, according to the rules and regulations set by the predecessors. Our sampradaya belongs to the disciplic succession of Madhavendra Puri, who belong to the Madhva sampradaya. We are in the disciplic succession of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was initiated by Ishwara Puri, a disciple of Madhavendra Puri's. Our sampradaya is therefore called the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. As such, we must carefully follow in the footsteps of Sri Madhavendra Puri and observe how he installed the Gopal deity on top of Govardhan Hill, how he arranged and performed the Annakuta ceremony in only one day, and so forth. Our installation of deities in America and in the wealthy countries of Europe should be carried out in terms of Sri Madhavendra Puri's activities. All the servitors of the deity must be strictly qualified as Brahmanas, and specifically must engage in the Vaishnava custom of offering as much prasadam as possible and distributing it to the devotees who visit the temple to see the Lord. There's the Vaishnava culture and society in a nutshell, so nicely presented by Srila Prabhupada by the grace of Madhavendra Puri. Text 88. After taking rest, the deity must be awakened at the end of the day, and immediately some food and some water must be offered to him. This offering is called purport. This offering is called Vaikali Bhoga, food offered at the end of the day. Text 89. When it was advertised throughout the country that Lord Gopal had appeared atop Govardhan Hill, all the people from neighboring villages came to see the deity. Text 90. One village after another was pleased to beg Madhavendra Puri to allot them one day to perform the Annakuta ceremony. Thus, day after day, the Annakuta ceremony was performed for some time. It's unlimited. Text 91. Sri Madhavendra Puri did not eat anything throughout the day, but at night, after laying the deity down to rest, he took a milk preparation. Text 92. The next morning, the rendering of service to the deity began again, and people from one village arrived with all kinds of food grains. 93. The inhabitants of the village brought to the deity of Gopal as much food, grains, ghee, yogurt, and milk as they had in their village. Purport: Anna, Grita, Dadi, and Dugda are food grains, ghee, yogurt, and milk. Actually, these are the basis of all food. Vegetables and fruits are subsidiary. Hundreds and thousands of preparations can be made out of grains, vegetables, ghee, milk, and yogurt. The food offered to Gopal in the Annakuta ceremony contained only these 5 ingredients. Only demoniac people are attracted to other types of food, which we will not even mention in this connection. We should understand that in order to prepare nutritious food, we require only grains, ghee, yogurt, and milk. We cannot offer anything else to the deity. The Vaishnava, the perfect human being, does not accept anything not offered to the deity. People are often frustrated with national food policies. But from the Vedic scriptures, we find that there are sufficient cows and grains. But that if there are sufficient cows and grains, the entire food problem is solved. The Vaishyas, people engaged in agriculture and commerce, are therefore recommended in the Bhagavad Gita to produce grains and give protection to cows. Cows are the most important animal because they produce the miracle food, milk, from which they can prepare ghee, from which we can prepare ghee and yogurt. The perfection of human civilization depends on Krishna consciousness, which recommends deity worship. Preparations made from vegetables, grains, milk, ghee, and yogurt are offered to the deity and then distributed. Here we can see the difference between the East and the West. The people who came to see the deity of Gopal brought all kinds of food to offer the deity. They brought all the food they had in stock, and they came before the deity, not only to accept prasadam for themselves, but to distribute it to others. The Krishna consciousness movement vigorously approves this practice of preparing food, offering it to the deity, and distributing it to the general population. This activity should be extended universally to stop sinful eating habits, as well as other behavior befitting only demons. A demoniac civilization will never bring peace within the world. Since eating is the first necessity in human society, those engaged in solving the problems of preparing and distributing food should take lessons from Madhya-lila Puri and execute the Annakuta ceremony. When the people take to eating only prasadam offered to the deity, all the demons will be turned into Vaishnavas. When the people are Krishna conscious, naturally the government will be so also. A Krishna conscious man is always a very liberal well-wisher of everyone. When such men head the government, the people will certainly be sinless. They will no longer be disturbing demons. It is then and then only that a peaceful condition can prevail in society. Well, there it is, folks. There it is. Prabhupada's description of the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement based on the devotional service demonstrated by Madhya-lila Puri and all the residents of the area of Govardhan. We may not be able to imitate it everywhere we live, but we can, in principle, engage in all these activities. Hearing, chanting, cooking prasadam, tasting prasadam, distributing the sound of the transcendental literatures given by Srila Prabhupada that are meant to awaken and uplift human society. Sometimes we may think, oh, this is impossible. Look at the God's odds that are against us. But this is faithlessness. Krishna can do anything. When Krishna wants something to happen, it happens. We experience it every day in our dealings. So no matter where we are, no matter where we're situated, in a huge temple or a little temple like this with our little humble offering, altar, and we sincerely cook and honor prasadam, distribute prasadam, and dedicate our lives to spreading this sound vibration, Srila Prabhupada's books, in any way we can, whether we're young or old, or fit or not, do whatever we can do according to our capacity, then we reach perfection in the same way that these great souls worshipped Gopal under the direction of Madhya-lila Puri. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada is directing us as our founder Acharya to distribute the Krishna consciousness movement everywhere we are according to our capacity. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop there. Shri Balaram ki jai. Shri Balaram Jayanti ki jai. Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Madhavendra Puri ki jai. Transcendental devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead ki jai. The hearing and chanting of these transcendental literatures Srila Prabhupada so kindly gave us to raise us up from the anxiety and confusion and suffering of this material world and give us a taste of the transcendental, a taste of pure affection for Krishna and his devotees. Hare Krishna. So, if we have any reflections or discussions or whatever, please be our guest. Hare Krishna. Imagine, I just visualizing when we went to the Folkestone Day, quality of the people, just having this big kirtan party going up and down and up and down. What that would do to change everything. Sometimes we may wonder how it's possible that the Krishna consciousness movement could spread in a really big way. But we must always remember that this movement is meant to be spread, and it will be spread by the desire of Lord Chaitanya, generation after generation after generation, for 10,000 years. That's a long time. Things change so much. Just see how much things have changed in just 5 months, 6 months. The whole world is turned upside down. Everyone's completely bewildered. They don't know what to do. So things can change. And if we use this technology that had been given by these persons who are so intensely desirous of gratifying their senses, for this purpose of glorifying the Lord and spreading this transcendental sound vibration, generation after generation, people just hear us and watch us, see us going around doing what we do to do the things we need to do to serve Krishna. Even if they see us, they get some piety. And if they hear the holy name and don't participate, they get piety. And in this way, next life, they're a little more pious, and then a little more pious. And gradually, eventually, they'll come and join the Krishna consciousness movement. And there'll be millions of them. And we must prepare ourselves to be able to give them the real thing. Hare Krishna.
few greetings and things like that I can read. Nijadam Das.
Nijadam Das.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj and assembled devotees, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna Nijadam Das.
To Srila Prabhupada, thank
Jai
you
Ho, glories
for
to
the
Prabhupada.
reading.
Thank you for coming.
May M. Maitreyi says, Hare Krishna, dearest Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Happy Balaram Jayanti.
Jai. Shri Balaram Ji ki Jai.
And the butterflies look really pretty too on the altar.
Oh, you noticed? Yeah, the altar became a little bit... This is what happens when devotional service goes on. They were sent to us from Govardhan. In my room in Govardhan, I had them underneath the altar in a little box. And Anantarupa, his wife went to Lithuania. Lucky to get there because there weren't any flights, but she got one. And she took these little things and some oils that I had there also that we used to make the area fragrant around the deities. In this way, in our little way, we worship the deities. And it's changed this room, it's changed this flat. That's why we call it the haven. That we can make our environment anywhere Krishna, conscious and blissful by hearing and chanting and serving according to our capacity. Hare Krishna. Thank you for noticing.
Sudevi Dasi says, Happy Lord Balaram Jayanti.
Jai Ho.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please
Thank
accept
you,
my
Sudevi
humble
Dasi.
obeisances.
Jai, mine to you, glories to Prabhupada.
Brian Phillips says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Brian?
Phillips.
Brian Phillips. Haribol, Bhakta Brian.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Mother Kalindi says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, Happy Balaram Jayanti.
Thank you, Kalindi.
Vrindavaneshwari.
Hey, Vrindavaneshwari, Hare Krishna. Well, I got your letter today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we're making progress. There's a magical thing happening here. We almost have all the paraphernalia for our, recording studio. On just day after tomorrow, it's going to be delivered. The booth and the computer that's going to be running it will be coming in another week or 10 days. And then we have all the other equipment, and we can start our startup hopefully as soon as possible, recording again by the grace of the Vaishnavas. Please bless us.
And there's a comment from Sudevi Dasi.
Jai.
She says in text 46 it says, Madhavendra Puri cried for some time, but then he fixed his mind on executing the order of Gopal. Thus he became tranquil. And that's what happens when we follow our spiritual master's instructions. Our troubled minds can find some peace.
Absolutely beautiful realization. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Sudevi.
And Rati Manjari says, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Jai Rati Manjari. Thank you very much for sending me all these nectarian. I was so busy today that I didn't have time to watch the videos that you showed me of the Sankirtan going on in Amsterdam. But I'm going to, very soon, and as I usually do, because I can't even walk, what to speak of run around and jump and dance and the things I used to do. But I can enjoy vicariously watching you do the Nam Sankirtan. And maybe after I get these hips fixed finally, I'll be able to actually participate sometimes. Hare Krishna. But I have to get these books recorded. It seems like it's happening. All the arrangements are being made outside of our purview, outside our capacity. Things are happening, falling into place, so that we'll have enough place for the devotees to stay and the equipment we need. and all we need is the will and the support of the Vaishnavas, and we'll do it. After the Caitanya-caritämrta is finished, which Rasika Shirmani, who's doing the editing, he's made a schedule now. He's got, goals to achieve, and he thinks he can finish by about the end of November, and then we have to do the kind of polishing, the overdubs of different places that need to be made correct, where if there's any mistakes, and the polished edits can be also incorporated, and then hopefully by Gaur Pranim the BBT will be able to publish this audiobook of what we're reading right now, and it will be it's highly anticipated by so many devotees, and if it spreads, it will help us to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. Hare Krishna. So thanks, Rati. While I'm doing this, I'm not doing many of the things that I used to do, the big Sankirtan parties and public chanting and so many things. But I'm getting the nectar from reading with you all and watching you go out to the parks in Amsterdam, delivering the holy name and making people pious just by your chanting. Hare Krishna.
She says we are your transcendental eyes.
Pretty obvious. Pretty obvious.
I didn't actually read what Vrindavaneshwari said, but she says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to your service.
All glories to you, Vrindavaneshwari. Thank you for that lovely contribution and support. I so much appreciate it.
She says, Happy Balaram Jayanti.
Jai, thank you, thank you. Okay, we'll leave you all now and be back tomorrow. Same time, same place, same subject. The eternal, transcendental pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which can be heard and chanted again and again and again. And we'll never get tired of them. We just get more and more amazed and blissful and purified. And as we get purified, we hear more. Even though we've heard it so many times, we hear more. And we hear a little bit differently. And in that way, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, the spiritual nectar, increases eternally. Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. See you tomorrow night, same place, same time, same station. Hare Krishna.